An entitled toxic family rents out my lakefront property for a vacation and absolutely destroys it, lighting furniture on fire as well as destroying my ATV and most of my house. And when I confronted them about the damages, they then decided that they were going to ruin my life by defaming my name to millions of people online. But what they didn't know is that I have cameras, proving once and for all that yes, they did do exactly what they did. And now they're desperately pleading that I settle out of court simply because they didn't know that they were on camera. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been very fortunate in my life. I recognize this and I understand my privilege. Everything I have was worked for on my own, starting all from nothing, and I am very grateful every single day. Now, I have a lakefront property and a vacation destination in the United States, and I rent it out year-round when I'm not there myself. Available on the property is wave runners, inflatables, etc. And during the winter months, these items are blocked away in a shed, and the price of the rent decreases to reflect that, since summer rentals are more to cover the insurance needed to operate them. I am below surrounding property prices because everyone deserves to vacation, not just the wealthy. A family rented out my property for 2 weeks in the winter. They said it was for a family reunion and it would be quite the affair. Well, during their stay, several family members broke into the shed and dragged out the trailer the wave runners were on, damaging the trailer and puncturing the tires, as well as somehow bending the frame. They tied the wave runners to the truck, dragging them to the lake and damaging them, one to the point of a total loss. They took out the ATV that I have in the back that I used to survey the property and make runs to the veg stand down the way. In fact, one of the kids went out of control, driving it up onto the sprinklers and landscaping, smashing through a porch railing, damaging the ATV as well. The child broke their leg and required some surgery. They also ransacked the property, burning furniture in the fire pit and putting large holes in walls, as well as breaking countertops in both the kitchen and the bathrooms. Well, the parents came after me for the cost, stating it was my fault, it was negligence, and it was an attractive nuisance. They were vicious, having their friends and family leave negative reviews for both my property and my local business. What they didn't know was that I had cameras that captured it all. My lawyer was a shark and went after them for everything, including damages for defamation. Well, the family is now so sorry. They didn't know I had cameras and want to settle out of court for 1/5 of what they would owe me otherwise. Now, I honestly would have considered it if they said sorry and meant it, but they still haven't taken down the videos on social media that paint me as a monster landlord, some of them getting over 1 million views. So I have mostly decided to not take their offer, and from what my lawyer says, this really could bankrupt the family, or so they say. Now, for the record, the property contract clearly and plainly states that all common areas have cameras, and they initialed it stating that they had read through this. And it says very plainly, common areas meaning the outside, the porches, the fire pit, the lakefront, the sheds, the barns, and the mailbox. I was also under the impression that common areas did not include inside the actual house. If I'm honest, aside from the lying, the burning of the furniture upset me the most. One was a writing desk from the late 1800s, a wicker chair set, 2 picture frames, 2 mature fig trees, a small bookshelf, all of the wooden cooking utensils, the books from the second bedroom, and a rocking chair. So you know what? I was rather attached to all of that. So am I the jerk if I don't take the settlement? Because right now I'm kind of feeling guilty. Okay, in my opinion, and this is just what I would do in this situation, I would not back down for a second. These people have not only tried to say that this is your fault, but also tried to be like, oh yeah, you're an awful landlord, you're a terrible person, and we're gonna ruin your business. And that part alone is what makes me the most angry. Like, if someone destroyed my property, sure, we can settle it there. But the fact that they want to try and ruin my reputation over stuff that they did, like, that is crazy to me. And seriously, thank God you had cameras, because these people are absolute scumbags. And if you didn't have recorded proof that yes, this definitely happened, then I'm positive that this could have gone very poorly. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for resenting my cousin while he's going through a crisis after he abandoned me when I was going through mine? Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm 19 years old and my cousin is 24. Over the last year, my mental health has legitimately been taking hit after hit, basically more than ever before in my life. I'm isolating myself, I'm starting fights with everybody, I'm not getting out of bed for the majority of most days, and burning around 3 different friendship bridges is just the stuff that I can bring up on this side of the internet without fearing that I might be banned. But needless to say, it was really bad. Then a couple months into it, I started calling him asking for help, and he was going along with it, saying to me, yeah, you can rely on me at all times, I can handle it. And so this was the system for a while. I called him every time I needed to talk to someone, and he would help me out. And he was genuinely amazing at that. He had some of the best advice I've ever heard, and he kept me up for several more months. And by then, I have grown used to relying on him. In fact, I even started going to therapy because of him, and things actually started to get better. Then, at some point, he finally snapped. I'm pretty sure I can remember in which day this happened. He was driving me back home, and he started ranting with anger about how this was ruining him, how exhausting it was to have a conversation with me, and minutes later gets calls from 3 different family members asking what I said, and how he doesn't want his ability to talk to me to be dictated by that. I tried to go, yeah, that must really suck, but I didn't really consider the implications. He then said that he cared about me, and I said I could never thank him enough. But after that, he turned cold. I would tell him I had a horrible day, and he would just say to me, yeah, and I would call him in the middle of an anxiety attack, and he would hear what it was all about, and then he would say, okay, I can't talk right now, and then he would hang up on me. He dropped everything else in his life too. Everyone else in the family basically agrees that the pressure of helping me, along with a bunch of other things that happened in his life at the time, was just draining him out, and he wasn't in a state to keep being helpful, let alone to someone who's dealing with stuff. But I just saw this as the ultimate betrayal. You used to be here for me, and now you're not. I got scared of looking him in the eyes, or even talking to him during family meetings, or just eating around him. It really, really hurt. And now he's kind of better, as he's got on antidepressants, but he's not really the way he used to be. He's into having a conversation, but he reacts pretty blank whenever I try to come with something heavy. And the thing is, now that he wants to do things that are good for him, he loves visiting us multiple times a week, and he comes to our house to play board games with my little brother. And almost everyone but me really love it. They love his company, they love talking and playing with him, but I keep feeling like the household is paralyzed. If I'm in the same room as him, I feel like I can't make a noise. I feel like I have to present as hyper respectful for him because a part of my brain is genuinely sure that he's gonna judge me if I step out of line, no matter how irrational and reductive I know it is. And also the living room, which is the only room in the house big enough to contain the games they like to play in their full form. He has a direct view to the kitchen, which means whenever he's around, I become visibly anxious whenever I try to eat. It's not fair for him, and I know it isn't, but I don't know how to stop. Yesterday, I woke up during the afternoon, and he was in the living room from the moment I woke up, and I just felt numb. I was on my phone in my bed for most of the day, and whenever I went to the living room or the kitchen, I kept feeling like, oh my god, he's paralyzing the house. God, when is he going away? He was playing games with my mom and my brother, and each of them took multiple hours, and they all seemed to be having a great time, but I was just waiting for it all to be over. At one point, we were having dinner, and I just blurted out by saying, I had a dream where I told you I relapsed, and you just did not get what I wanted from you. And I said this in front of my parents and brother. His response was just to say, okay, and we haven't even brought it up ever since. After it went dark outside, he said he was going to leave after the end of this one game, and I said nothing, but in my heart, I was saying yes. But then he got a phone call, and then he came back and told everyone something I couldn't really sort out, mostly because I was not really in my body at the moment. After the game was over and he was very passionately talking about it with my brother, I asked my mom, wasn't he supposed to leave? And she said to me, no, there was a change in plans. He'll stay here for about 2 more hours. And it was basically as bad as the news could be. So I didn't really think before I went, he's gonna stay for 2 more hours? And he was literally a few meters away. Nobody said anything, and he did indeed leave a couple of hours later. I then went to my room and I waited for all of it to be over. Later that night, my mom went into my room to tell me this was inappropriate. He was dealing with a lot too, and it's not his fault. He was trying to help and it got too much because it's even too much for her. She also said that if someone helps you get your life back on track when you're in a state like that, that's it. You owe them for the rest of your life. I know it's messed up, but honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but yes, absolutely you're the jerk. I can understand having someone to look to when you're having an anxiety attack or some kind of like depressive episode, or your mental health is out of whack and you've got to reach out to them. Like that really is a good safety net, and it's important for you to have that kind of thing ready if you really do need it. But for you to seriously hold some kind of resentment towards him after he's like, look, I can't take this anymore. This is too much for me and I can't do it. Like instead of going to someone else and being like, hey, I need a new safety net, you decide to be like, wow, he's the enemy. I will never forgive you for this betrayal. And it's like, what in the world are you talking about? There's no betrayal happening here. He's saying that he loves you and that he cares about you, but he cannot emotionally take this. And I'm sure in the beginning he was optimistic. He probably thought to himself, yeah, I can handle this. This is fine. But then when it gets down to the dark and dirty stuff, that's when he's like, oh my God, I can't handle this. Sure, he has sympathy for your situation, but after a while, I can completely understand where he's coming from. from, because then it's just become too much. Every single day you're having an issue and it's like, oh my God, I'm the only one bearing this burden. This is awful. Like, this is why therapy is so important in my opinion, because it not only teaches you how to handle these situations, but you work with someone who's a professional who can point you in this direction. And your cousin, by the way, is not the professional that can help you in these moments. So in my opinion, I think you absolutely are the jerk for holding this resentment towards your cousin, because trust me, based on what I've heard, this is absolutely a one-sided resentment. You're literally staying mad and angry at him, all because he can't listen to all of your stuff every single day. Like, I'm sorry you're having anxiety attacks and you're going through these hard moments, but he is not responsible for your triggers or your mental health. That falls squarely on your shoulders, and in my opinion, he has made his boundaries pretty clear. He can't do this anymore, but he still wants to be in the family. So for you to still be dragging him around and being like, oh, I had a dream about you, as well as you avoiding him in your own home, like, all of that is so rude and so toxic. Because if anything, it just proves that yes, you definitely need to keep talking to your therapist, because this behavior is not normal. If he was mad at you, I'm pretty sure there would be like evidence of him being mad at you. But right now it just seems like he's indifferent and he's just trying to move forward with his life and you're just not letting him. So yes, I have sympathy for your situation. I just think that you're taking this out on the wrong person, because this guy literally did nothing wrong. And I think you need to realize that sooner than later. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law to stop playing poor around my kids because this is having a negative effect on their lives? Here's what happened. My sister-in-law, who we will call Lily, has been close to my family ever since her recent divorce. She's had a bit of a rough time financially since then, so she's really embraced the simple life. She often talks about how she doesn't need much, how money is a distraction, and how having less is really freeing. My kids are 11 and 12 years old, and Lily has started babysitting them sometimes, but I've noticed that after hanging out with her, they make little comments such as, why do we need a big house? Why buy new clothes if we don't really need them? Now, to be clear, I'm all for teaching gratitude, but I also feel it's important for my kids to see that success and comfort don't have to be negative things. I didn't grow up with much, and my husband and I worked hard to build our life so that our kids could have opportunities that we didn't have. I didn't want them feeling guilty for what we have, but Lily's influence seems to be making them second guess our lifestyle. When I asked her as gently as I could to stop making these comments around my kids, Lily was hurt and said I was trying to erase her reality and accused me of being materialistic. She said it's her duty to show them the world isn't all about money and things, which I totally get, but I think there's a line between that and making them uncomfortable with our lifestyle. Well, the conversation got heated after Lily called me materialistic, and I snapped at her and I told her to just stop playing poor. Well, now my husband's family thinks I'm overreacting and says that Lily is just sharing her values. My mom then said that I'm being snobby or trying to shelter my kids from other viewpoints. So am I the jerk for telling her to keep her simple living talk away from my kids? What should I do? No, I don't think you're the jerk entirely, because I do kind of understand where you're coming from, and I think the core idea here is that you don't want someone else telling your kids what they should and shouldn't do. And to that end, I completely agree with you. While the subject matter, in my opinion, is not that big of a deal, I do think it's important to set boundaries and be like, hey, this is what you can and can't do with my kids. And any kind of like self-calling in life is completely inappropriate and you just need to stop. So no, in my opinion, I do not think that you're the jerk. My boyfriend cheated on me years ago, and now I'm trying to see if I can make things work. But despite our best efforts, my boyfriend is now saying that he wants to go back on a break. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so maybe I just need to vent, or maybe I need someone to slap me in the face. So internet, please give me the harsh truth. We were close friends in college for 3 years and started dating 5 years ago. After we graduated in 2019, we worked together for a year and have been doing a long-distance relationship since then because of work. For reference, we're both engineers in different sites, and we meet during our off time every 2 months. We navigated early adulthood together, from two broke fresh graduates until him now a vice manager and me building my own consultant. I've always thought of our camaraderie and support for each other's goals as one of the reasons why I want to be with him permanently. For the past 2 years, we've been talking about getting married. He often talks about what kind of family and house he would want to build for me, and I never not believed his intentions to stay with me. That is, until earlier this year. Now, let me preface this by saying that I'm pretty conservative with my boundaries. I made this clear since the beginning when we started our long-distance relationship, so that if he didn't share the same views, we could just end things right there. So by all means, make friends with whoever, but don't do things you wouldn't do in front of me. And in the beginning, I enforced this pretty hard, basically being very clingy and very needy. At the end of 2021, the first year of the long-distance relationship was pretty rough. My low self-esteem and insecurity heavily affected our relationship, and it did create a rift. Plus, we had limited time to communicate with each other. It's a around this time that he claimed he started to get attracted and became comfortable with this girl who we will call Lisa. And as a result, he slept with her and stayed in a relationship with her for years. That is, until I found out earlier this year. Now, Lisa was the one who spilled the beans. She confronted me nicely after, according to her, my boyfriend had been distant and avoiding her for the past year. He claimed they only slept together once, but he realized his mistake and tried to avoid her without confronting her. And he did move shortly after they slept together. He said it was a one-time mistake, and because Lisa was in HR, he felt he was in too deep to rectify their relationship, and he was afraid of some kind of fallback. After a year of that, he moved to my company so we could meet more often, leaving Lisa but not saying explicitly that he's ending their relationship. Now, against my own principles, I decided to forgive him. I was banking on the fact that he ghosted Lisa just to stay with me. I see him as genuinely owning up and trying to mend things, going with my flow throughout my healing process. He promised to be committed and initiated the final talk between him, me, and Lisa. But still, forgiving an actual affair is hard, and I feel so drained. He said that he regretted that and felt the guilt eating him up from the inside too. The past 10 months have been a roller coaster until finally the pain, anger, and sadness considerably passed, and we can talk and laugh again most of the time. Recently, I was ready to move forward again with our initial plan of getting married, and he said he's always happy with me throughout this. He still loves me, and he's sorry for his inability to make me happy and to offer a certainty to our future. But now he feels pressured because of how hard his parents disagree with our relationship, not to mention his parents' health condition, his new work, and how his affair has drained us. He needs time to sort out his thoughts and initiated a break, all while he grieves his mistakes, and so that I can pursue my dreams without being tied to his condition. I did some work on my self-esteem, and I know I'm not going to pass away from breaking up. I have many opportunities lined up, but somehow if it doesn't happen, I kind of feel like I don't want to be okay. If I'm okay with this, it's as if all these years meant nothing. I'm disappointed in him seemingly giving up right now. I still want to wait and see if there's still a future for us, but at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, you wanted some harsh truth, so I'm gonna give it to you. I think you're a fool for trying to go back to this guy. Why do you think he wants to go on a break, by the way? Like, why do you really think he wants to be like, oh, you should pursue your dreams? It's not because he cares about your well-being. In my opinion, it's so he can go hook up with Lisa or some other woman again. I truly believe that this guy is playing you for a fool, and the fact that you went back to him after he openly cheated on you, in my opinion, says all that you need to know, because this guy blatantly and obviously cannot be trusted. He broke your trust the moment he had that affair, and in my opinion, I think this is something that I absolutely could never forgive. Am I the jerk for telling my mom that a Halloween costume wasn't that bad and that she needed to educate herself? Because right now, my mom is being ridiculous with my little brother's costume options, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a 24-year-old female, and I just got into a heated argument with my mom over the costume my little brother is wanting to wear for Halloween. Now, my mom is heavily religious. When she's not at work, she is either spending her day doing Bible study in her room, or she is at church. She does not watch any shows or movies, and if she opens up YouTube, it's to watch the live stream from a church. And she was not like this when I was growing up, but it all started when I was around 19 years old. All that is to say is that she has been basically turning down all of the ideas my brother has for Halloween. For reference, my brother is 12 years old. For the last few years, he's been an astronaut of his own choice, but this year he wanted to be Jason. My mom said no because his mask is scary, and I was going over other options with him, and he decided on a plague doctor. Well, my mom saw it and said that it was dark and scary. I tried to explain to her that the costume is not bad, and that it's literally just a doctor who dressed like that due to treating patients with the plague. She then argued that she would buy him a costume that she approved of, but I told her straight up that she would be wasting her money because she cannot force him to wear something that he doesn't want to. Also, as a side note, she isn't even the one taking him trick-or-treating. Our dad is coming into town and he will be taking him. I basically told her that it is not my fault that she is choosing to not understand the actual purpose of a plague doctor and choosing to only look at the appearance of the costume. She then told me, "I'm your mother and you can't talk to me like that. You should respect me." Now, I never cussed at her or used any foul language when telling her about the costume, but it was still so frustrating. But I did say, I'm a grown adult and I will talk how I want to, but you obviously are not showing me respect either. I also told her that I've done everything that she wanted up until now, and I'm tired and I wanted her to leave me alone. Now, as a side note, unrelated to the costume, but something that does give more background about my mom and brother are living with me and my spouse. She is not paying any rent, and my parents separated, so my dad is paying her portion since my brother is here. She also argued with me for the master bedroom, and I eventually gave up and let her have it. Now, I do feel a little bit guilty since I know she'll be up praying and crying over this. So am I the jerk for getting upset and arguing about this with my mom? Because right now I'm still incredibly annoyed. No, you're not the jerk at all. You didn't even do anything wrong. Your mom, by the way, is being a complete idiot. For starters, Halloween is an innocent thing. It's not that big of a deal. Kids dress up as characters and then they get candy from door to door. Like seriously, there's nothing bad going on, and anyone who says otherwise, in my opinion, is just weird and out of touch. And it's so funny that your mom's being picky about your brother's costume when she's not even the one that's going to be taking him out to go trick-or-treating. Like, I'm all for someone trying to be religious and being like, yeah, this is important to me and this is what I believe, or whatever might be going on. Like, more power to you, do whatever you want. But to sit there and be like, oh, it's dark and scary, therefore you can't have it, basically implying that it's demonic if you look a certain way, like that is crazy and it's just so dumb. So no, you're definitely not the jerk for arguing back, because the way your mom is acting, in my opinion, is completely ridiculous. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.